Today I want to talk about an underutilized epic who really changed the game for me.
Shoot him, Kevin!
Hello everybody, I'm Roadblock and this is a Raid Shadow Legends video. So I'm excited today to talk about an epic that I think is kind of underrated, or at the very least isn't on a lot of people's radar, and they really changed the game for me personally a while back. Now admittedly I don't use this champion as much anymore, but I used them today in a very specific room of City of Centranos and was reminded about how freaking good they are. So the champion in question is Aox. So some of you may have this guy, some of you may have had this guy and never thought that he looked very good. The kit is interesting, but it may not look that great on paper. So let's go over it very quickly. So for the A1, a 2x hitter, each hit has a 10% chance of placing a 5% poison, books up to 30%. That doesn't sound very impressive if I'm being completely honest, right? It's a poison on an A1, 30% chance. It's pretty low. It is the big version of poison, but there are better poisoners out there, right? This isn't the first guy that jumps to mind that makes me want to as a poisoner, but that's not really his role. I honestly don't know why there's poison on the A1 if I'm being completely honest with you, but it's there. So the A2 attacks one enemy, heals all allies by 10% of their max HP, heals each ally by an extra 2.5% for each debuff on the target, which is pretty good, pretty interesting. That's a pretty reasonable heal actually. 10% of their HP traditionally isn't that great, but it is useful, can come in handy. But really the passive of this champion is what we're looking for. We'll talk about this really quickly. So this is the A3, places the big version of decrease attack, 100% chance when booked of decreasing enemy turn meter by 20%. Places 30% decreased crit rate debuff on the target for 2 turns if they have 50% or more turn meter after the turn meter decrease. So listen up, I just got a new promo link that you can use to follow along with me on my latest free-to-play adventure and get a free Elenaril as well as 3 more powerful epics as you level up. Here's how to do it. Log out of Plarium and Play and uninstall. Click the link in the description and register with a brand new email. Launch Raid and complete the tutorial. Go to your inbox and claim your first champ. Don't miss out on your chance to get Elenaril right after signing up, as well as Fayne, Uugo, and Tagoar as you progress through Raid. Click on my link right now and let's crush this together. Okay, so that places a decrease attack, which is really good because you don't have to worry about weak hits per se. Likewise with the decreasing turn meter, you can still get 3%, they can still resist, but I don't see anything here that indicates that there is a hit related to this. The decreased crit rate is actually a sneaky good debuff that I don't think people consider enough, because you can prevent all crits basically, right? The crit rate on bosses is usually pretty low, and to be able to prevent them altogether can ensure that a team that might struggle can find success. But what we really want out of Aox is the passive. The passive is insanely good. So the passive increases the duration of 2 random debuffs on the attacker by 1 turn when attack occurs once per hit. Now, you may be thinking, well, that doesn't sound all that good, but this used to be my secret weapon to Iron Twins. And if you're struggling with Iron Twins, Aox pairs very, very well with Geomancer. This is actually one of the earliest videos that I ever made on this channel where I talked about doing Iron Twins with this team. I'm going to go ahead and waste 150 gems for you guys. I don't know if I still have the team saved anymore. I probably don't. I just am looking to see. Yeah, I don't. So right now I just kind of use an unkillable and a bunch of damage dealers. But back in the day, what I would use was pretty simple. I know I used him, I used Thrala, I used UDK of all people. So then I used Geomancer and Aox. And essentially what would happen, and by the way, I'm not, the gear and timing and everything of this team is not correct here, so bear with me if this team fails. I can tell you that this did work very well back in the day, but there are some things that you need to kind of coordinate. So essentially, if you understand how the boss works, let me see if I can find it here. Fills the Iron Twins turn meter by 10% whenever an enemy receives a buff. Will not fill the turn meter if they are under decreased speed. So one of the ways to mitigate that is to bring decreased speed. We, however, do not want to mitigate that. We actually want the boss to take a bunch of turns with this team. So I'm going to try to avoid using some of my buffs to kind of show you what we're trying to do. But we place Geomancer's Burn, right? And if you understand how Geomancer works, for those of you that don't know or maybe don't have him, Geomancer does a ton of damage in the form of reflect damage. So when the boss hits, we reflect and do essentially War Master procs, right? We essentially do a War Master proc every time the boss hits. So the idea here is to get a lot of turns. And the best way to get turns, because of how the boss works, is to buff your team, right? That forces a turn, and then you see that big chunk of damage that we did. Buff my team again. The boss gets a ton of turn meter. I'm going to save this one because he's about to go. Chunks himself down, right? And then the problem with this team is that the burn could potentially fall off, and that can be frustrating to deal with. So how do we prevent that from happening? Well, that's where Aox comes in. So we're going to buff ourselves again here, and he's going to get a turn. Now, the burn did fall off here, which kind of sucks. Now, what's one of the downsides, and I think I eventually took Mithrala out of it and maybe brought somebody else who brought more buffs, but no debuffs, right? So this was the original team that I did, and it was a little longer team. But if I bring in somebody like Duchess, who does the pretty much same thing, we'll go ahead. Actually, I want to be a little more tanky here. So it doesn't bring the debuffs that Mithrala brings, so we don't have the risk of extending those. Now, this is not a breakdown for Iron Twins, and I'm going to talk about how Aox is better in other areas as well. But I just wanted to kind of show this as an example. This is one area where Aox really changed things for me. So we place that burn, and then we start. Now, I do like to turn off the A3. I know I'm manualing right now. It's just because I don't have a preset for this already saved. But we'll go ahead and buff. He gets a bunch of turn meter, chunks himself down. We buff again, gets some turn meter. We buff again, turn meter, takes a turn, chunks himself down. Now, if you've ever done Iron Twins, there's something specific about Iron Twins that does not happen when you're using this composition. He doesn't proc retaliatory launch. So whenever the Iron Twins HP drops below 80, 60, and 40%, removes all debuffs. Now, you don't need to do this anymore. The boss has gotten a lot easier. That this team is a little too slow compared to like the other team that I use. But this was like an old school strategy back when Iron Twins was still really hard. And you can see, watch that burn. We're putting more debuffs on now, so we're starting to have problems. And that's where the poisons on the Aox is really kind of annoying. Actually, for the longest time, didn't book the A1 on my Aox to keep it 10%. But we managed to keep it on long enough for Geomancer to redo it, and that's all we're really looking for, right? We just want to make sure that it stays on for however many turns that we need to renew it, because he's pumping turn meter. We are giving him turn meter with our buffing constantly. That's the entire idea here, is to just keep giving the boss turn meter. UDK is kind of a mistake. It's just a champion I brought back in the day. I would bring somebody that maybe takes more turns now, because he's built kind of slow in a stone skin build. But you get the idea, right? So we buff ourselves a whole bunch, and the boss does all that damage, but you'll notice he hasn't done retaliatory launch. And one thing to watch out for, one of the reasons why this is so beneficial, is because if he does do retaliatory launch, like if you brought a Newt in this team, for example, or maybe another really hard-hitting damage dealer, then he would proc retaliatory launch, and he cleanses all debuffs when he does that. So you want to dodge that with this particular team. Again, I don't feel like you need this team anymore. You can get away with a lot faster strategies. But if you are struggling and you happen to have an Aox sitting in your vault and you happen to have a Geomancer, this is a really, really solid team that can do stage 25 pretty easily. Now, obviously, I manualed this. You don't have to manual it. You can set this up for auto as long as you're timing things correctly. But yeah, Geomancer does all the damage, and Aox just keeps extending those debuffs that Geomancer has put out. I recommend, if you can get books to avoid the A1, it does help the consistency of the team, because you are able to keep that burn up using Aox more than sometimes, because he only does 2 random buffs, and sometimes you may accidentally extend his poisons or decrease accuracy, or, you know, whatever other debuffs you might be bringing just through the course of your team. For example, we extended a decrease accuracy from Geomancer as well, and extended the poisons. So just some things to consider if you want to build that team. But this is not supposed to be just an Iron Twins guide video. What I really wanted to do was showcase Aox. And why did I want to make this video? Well, today I used Aox. Now, I am 495 points out of 500 points for Carnage, a champion that I really, really want to get. Another mythical to add to the collection, and I've taken my sweet time on it because I did not like City of Centranos. It's the same reason why I'm taking my sweet time on Polera Fireheart, because I don't like hard faction wars. And I honestly, like today, I could have moved my gear around. Not to complain too much about hard faction wars, I'm just being honest with you guys about where I'm at with hard faction wars. I could have moved gear around to try and use my keys, just use them, period, and I didn't. I don't want to. Screw that. Like, it's not, I don't want to move my gear around to my champions for hard faction wars. So unfortunately, I'm just not doing it today, and I haven't done it probably many days out of it. And so it's kind of a similar thing with Cursed City, where I would hit walls, areas where I couldn't progress any further, where I couldn't beat something, and I just said, you know, okay, I'm just not going to do it, right? I'll just go over back to normal or whatever. I do try to beat Amius every rotation. I've been pretty consistent at that on hard, which is really good, especially for the rewards that you get from him. I think it's 100 of these, but yeah, I'm just being honest with you guys. But today, because one of the quests which I completed today is clear 6 awakened stages, and that's how I got close enough. I'm still 5 away, but I'm at 495 because of that. And one of those I had to go, in order to kind of quickly get through these, I had to go through the Scarab King. One interesting thing, because again, I don't want to move gear around, I don't want to do that. Like, it's just not, I just don't care enough. And so I just went ahead and took a team that is already geared, but sorry, not a team, but took a bunch of champions that are already geared. And it took me a couple of tries because I kept trying to like use Armands and other options, but I found a really, really good option here. Now, I'm not going to show you the entirety of this run because it's insanely long. It was like 14 minutes, but I have no shield whatsoever, and it kind of ties into yesterday's video. By the way, I did forget a massive shout out to one of the best champions against Scarab King, and that is I know his name, but I'm Skull Lord Vargal. He's insanely good. I have him over on the free to play. He has been the secret weapon for me when it comes to the Scarab boss. But what did we do over here? So over here, I had to do a couple of things. One, I want to block buffs on him. But look at that block buffs. Did you see it was a 2-turn block buffs, and now it went up to 4? Well, that's Aox. Aox did that, right? So then I want to place poisons and heal reduction. Those all just got extended. At least 2 of them did, right? Now we're going to A1 here with Arbiter. Look at those buffs getting extended, right? So now we'll heal. Do a little heal, right? Buffs getting extended some more, right? Oh, a weaken. Great. I'll take that. That's awesome. I would also like a leech, please. We didn't get it. It didn't land. That's okay. But basically the point that I'm trying to make here, this was kind of my setup for today, right? I went through and I ran this team, and I want to get a leech, just a little bit of extra healing. We really don't need it. But we're really not, like, this is not a good team. I want to be perfectly clear about this. This is not a good team. But what it does incredibly well, because he can't steal our buffs, which is a problem. And he can't really kill us either, because I'll decrease his resistance. We don't need it, but I'll take it. It's an extra buff. And then we get a few more poisons. Oh, we got a weak hit. That's unfortunate. But we should get some poisons here. There we go. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9 buffs so far. So my Pytheon is pretty tanky. I believe he's actually in a full Stone Skin build. Obviously, Stone Skin doesn't matter here, but it was like a PvP build. I don't use him anymore in PvP, but it is a build that I have on him. And so people are going to die here. We'll revive them. But look at these buffs. 20 block buffs, 12 heal reductions, 12 on this poison, 11 on this poison. Everything is just getting super extended, and we're constantly keeping up buffs. Now, right now we have, looks like still 9 buffs. Let's see if we can get a couple more. But the counterattacks really work against the boss here, which I find to be very, very funny, because they just keep extending the buffs on them. And I think if Aox gets another turn here, we will get another poison, I hope. And there you go. So now, by the way, if you don't know this already, you can only have 10 debuffs on a boss. Actually, I think it's 10 debuffs on anybody at any time. So we have our full debuffs here. And then if I just go ahead and throw this onto auto, which I did. Now, it would be better to have a preset. I don't think you can do presets at Curse City after all, but it's better to keep A1ing with the Venomage. But you can see how slowly we're breaking the HP. But it doesn't really matter, because this boss can't really kill us. We will just keep reviving even if we do get pretty low. And by the way, yeah, now that she's using the A3 Deliana heals as well. And so this is just it, right? And this is just gonna go. And go and go and go. Yeah, this was just something that I did today, and I was like, you know what? I don't know that I've ever given Aox enough praise for what he can do. And, you know, yes, there are champions that can extend debuffs, but none who can extend it, well, very few who can extend it to the level of this. And even when it comes to Gwendolyn, I have to kind of manual her A1 in order to keep extending those debuffs. Aox can just do it by existing, basically, and it's a super underrated ability. Now, what other areas can this be beneficial? It depends. You would think like, well, this would be really good in other areas. I think I've seen some Aox teams for Ice Golem hard as well to kind of keep extending burns on the boss. I've seen some stuff like that before. I've never used it, but I've seen it. I don't know that other areas are going to be super beneficial from this. The big key is being able to take a lot of hits. So Iron Twins, Ice Golem, you can manipulate the boss's mechanics to get hit a bunch. If that means extending your buffs, well, hey, that's good, right? So you don't really complain about that. In this particular boss, obviously, this is very good too, because you want to extend those buffs so that not only can you heal, but extending that block buffs prevents him from stealing buffs, which is a big problem, because I tried this without Deliana. I was using Armand's, and he would steal increase attack off my team, which is being placed by Arbiter. When that gets stolen, he kills me. He can do enough damage with an increased attack on himself to be able to kill me. So I needed a block buffs. Deliana brings that. The heal reduction, you want to extend as well, because then you can prevent him from healing if he was to strip a continuous heal. I'm not bringing continuous heal, so he can't really steal that. Also, I don't need it per se, because isn't getting a chance to, because of the block buffs anyways, right? Because block buffs is there, you really don't need them both. But yeah, it's if you don't have Deliana, or rather if you're building this team for yourself, maybe you have a Venomage, maybe you have an Aox, and you want to use 2 different supports or a couple of different champions to kind of build a team like this to beat Scarab, you could totally do that. It's an option. It's a very underwhelming option. It's a very long, slow option, but you can already see we're halfway done and we're 9 minutes in. So it is a successful option, because if he hasn't killed me yet, I don't think he's going to kill me anytime soon, especially when he can't get an increased attack. So either way, guys, I just wanted to kind of showcase Aox a little bit for you today. I think that he is a really good champion that not enough people really talk about or consider. Oh gosh, is he not even geared? What is Venomage's gear right now? Okay, yeah, he's missing a shield. Yeah, so not even optimal, that team, right? But yeah, there's a lot of different options, and I just really wanted to showcase Aox because he was a lifesaver for me today, so I could get that awakened room and get even closer to getting Carnage, but also been a lifesaver on my account in the past. You can see how long I've had him for, because he's still rocking blue gear. I don't keep anything that's blue anymore at this point, so he was geared a long time ago. And I mean, he is super slow too. Now I want him to be slow in a way, because I don't want him A1ing, because I don't want these poisons to be extended, right? or to be put on. Back when I built him, I didn't want those to be put on Iron Twins. So, but nowadays you can build much easier teams for Iron Twins, you know, bunch of enemy max HP. I've got cooldown reduction in here between these two and a bunch of shields and unkillable. So yeah, we were able to beat it in a much faster time with this team, but I'm actually going to go ahead and tell that team to start running while we do the outro here, because I went ahead and used those gems. So I just want to say thank you guys for watching. I know that the little series of Doom Tower videos probably wasn't the best. Your views indicated that very clearly. So we'll probably step away from that. But ultimately, I'm not involved in a lot of what's going on right now. I'm not doing the fusion. I'm not doing the card flip because I just spent all of my souls on a different card flip, so we're not going to do that, right? And then, yes, we have a double legendary event. I would love to pull for that, but both my mercies are low, so there's really no reason for me to participate in a lot of the events that are going on. Hard faction wars I just don't like, so I'm just not doing it. It's like, yeah, I would love it if I could be more active in what's currently going on in the game, but you know, they started a fusion over 4th of July weekend. Also, I'm stripped of my resources, so who knows, maybe in the future the next fusion, if it is a support like a Cleanser Reviver Python 2.0, I will definitely go for it, and I will probably pull my free-to-play out of the vault and play over there as well. All right, guys, just want to say thank you so much for watching. If you are new here, please consider subscribing. It is the best way to support my channel, and I super appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Take care.